This video is going to go over question 6 on the exam 1 review sheet. Question 6 says, write the equation of the lines given the following information. Answer should be in the form y equals mx plus b. Remember, that's called slope-intercept form. And the m represents the slope, whereas the b represents our y-intercept. Now, if you notice, in slope-intercept form, the goal is that we have isolated the y. It is by itself on the left side of the equation. Most often, though, it's not going to be that easy. We're first going to have to start with point-slope form, which is right here, and then we'll convert it over to slope-intercept form by isolating the y. All right, the first one says we have a slope of -3. Remember, that's our m. And we're passing through the point 4, -9. So we're going to label the 4 and the -9 as our x1 and our y1. Now we're going to go back and we're going to start with that point slope form. So we have y minus y1, which we wrote was -9, equals m, which is -3, x minus x1, which is 4. Okay, remember the goal is that we isolate the y. Before we do that, though, we do need to distribute the -3 into this set of parentheses here. Also, don't forget that minus negative can just be simply written as +9. Equals, now when we distribute, we get a -3x, and we get a +12 because we have a negative times a negative. Still, the goal is to get y alone. So we need to get rid of that +9, and to get rid of +9, we subtract 9 on both sides of our equation. Those 9's cancel each other out, and we're left with y equals -3x plus 3. And there's the equation of our line. All right, the next one, it says we're passing through the points 16, 12, and 18, 4. So unfortunately, this time they didn't give us the slope. They only gave us 2 points. So the first task will be to find the slope. So just like we did on question 1, we'll label our points x1, y1, x2, and y2. And then the first thing we'll have to do is we'll have to calculate the slope. Remember, our formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's just to get our slope. So in this instance, we have 4 minus 12 over 18 minus 16. All right, 4 minus 12, that's -8. 18 minus 16, that's 2. And then we can actually reduce. -8 divided by 2 is -4. Remember, this number right here just represents our slope, our m. Now we need to go back to this point slope form, and we need to write the equation of our line. So we're going to start with y minus y1, which is 12, equals the m, which we just calculated to be -4, x minus 16. And our first step will be to distribute the -4. Y minus 12 equals -4x plus 64. Remember, we need to isolate the y, so we need to get rid of the -12, and we'll do that by adding 12 to both sides of our equation. Those 12's cancel, and we are left with -4x plus 76. And that's the equation of this line. All right, let's keep going. Same thing, let's label those points. We're given 2 points again. We have an x1 and a y1. We have an x2 and a y2. So again, the first task is to calculate our slope. All right, we need y2, -2, minus y1, 5, over x2, -4, minus x1. So we've got that minus -3. And when we do our subtraction, negative 2 minus 5, that's a negative 7, over negative 4 minus negative 3. Remember, that means negative 4 plus 3, so that's negative 1. And we can reduce those two negatives to be just positive 7. All right, we got our slope. Now we come over here and we do our point slope form. So we start with y minus y1, which we label to be 5, equals m. That's 7. X minus negative 3. Now let's make our lives just a little easier. Let's erase this minus negative. And let's just replace that with a plus. Okay, let's go ahead and distribute our 7. Y minus 5 equals 7x plus 21. And then to isolate the y, we need to get rid of the minus 5. So we add 5 to both sides of our equation. And that turns our 21 into a 26. Y equals 7x plus 26. Keep going. All right, this one says, write the equation of a line parallel. Now remember, back in the first video, we discussed that parallel lines have the same slope. So it gives us a line y equals 1/2 x plus 9. So if we're going to be parallel to that line, we know that our slope has to be 1/2. And we need to pass through the point negative 8, that's our x1, and positive 13. That's our y1. And now we're ready to plug everything in to our point slope form. So we have y minus y1, which is 13, equals m, which is 1/2, x minus x1, which is negative 8. Now, just as we did on the last problem, let's erase this minus negative. And let's just turn it into a plus. Okay, distribute your 1/2. So we have y minus 13 equals 1/2 x, and then 1/2 times 8 is 4. And now to isolate the y, we must add 13 to both sides of our equation. And we are left with y equals 1/2 x plus 17. So if you look at both of these equations, you can see that they both have a slope of 1/2, so we know that those two lines are parallel. All right, this one says we want a line perpendicular. Remember, that means our slopes have to be opposite reciprocals to the line negative 3x plus y equals 12, and we need to pass through the point 9, 8. Now, our first problem. This is not in slope-intercept form. In order to get it in slope-intercept form, remember, the y needs to be isolated. So to isolate this y, we need to add 3x to both sides of our equation. So now our equation is y equals positive 3x plus 12. Okay, now we don't want to be parallel to this line, so we are not going to have a slope of 3. We need to be perpendicular to this line. Remember, perpendicular slopes are opposite reciprocals. So this line here has a slope of 3, which could be written as 3 over 1. The opposite reciprocal to 3 over 1 is negative 1 over 3. So this is the slope that we're going to use to write the equation of our line. All right, we're going to label our point, and we're going to go right back to our point slope form and get this equation written. So we have y minus 8 equals, remember our slope now is negative 1/3. That's the perpendicular slope. Negative 1/3 x minus 9. So first, distribute the negative 1/3. Y minus 8 equals negative 1/3 x. And when we multiply negative 1/3 times negative 9, that's positive 3. And we isolate that y by adding 8 to both sides of our equation. Those 8's cancel. And we are left with negative 1/3 x plus 11. That one is a little tricky. I would go back and practice that a couple times. All right, the last one says we want to be perpendicular to the line x equals 3. We have talked about this. A line that has the equation x equals a number, we know that that is a vertical line. It has an undefined slope. All right, so if we graph that, here's our graph. We would go to 3 on the x-axis, and we would draw a vertical line. Now, we want to be perpendicular to this line, but we want to pass through the point negative 5, 7. So let's think. Negative 5 and positive 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would be about right there. So if we want to be perpendicular to this vertical line, our line would have to go like so. All right, this is a horizontal line, so we know it has to be y equals a number. So we look at, what does y equal? Y equals 7. And that's it.